doing these workshops, I know sometimes they work really well and sometimes it's a real struggle. And it seems like
Sure.
I'm watching your team really grow. Why did you want to do the workshops, Jonathan? And the second question to follow up is, how did you make it so successful?
So the reason why we chose to participate in the workshops is, well, just first thing is buy-in. Okay. If we are going to participate and let our, a partner in Bandyworks be successful with us is to not buck the system, not fight it and say, well, we don't need to do the workshops.
Mm.
We've got it kind of figured out. Obviously, if we had it figured out and we were so great at it and we wouldn't be talking to Bandyworks. But hey, we realized that we have some gaps, we have some inefficiencies, and we needed to partner up with Bandyworks to kind of help us with that data. And what does that mean? Interpret that data and what can we do to drive it for improvement? So that's to me the first step is, hey, look, you've got to buy into that process. Okay. Um, and then the kind of the lower, not the lower hanging fruit, kind of some of the tangential things that make sense for it is we were kind of segmented, right? So from talking to some people that were currently successful with the workshops, some of your clients, they said kind of resonated a chord, say, hey, we were all over the place. Our managers weren't talking to each other. We weren't, it was very siloed,
Mm.
and it just wasn't a sense of community, and it wasn't a sense of family, it wasn't a sense of team. And I said, that's us. I said, so how can we remedy that? Well, obviously, you guys know what you're doing in this sense, or working at it, or at least attempting to know, but now I'm kidding there. But so, hey, we've got this workshop that we can get your managers together. They can get on the phone, they can get on a Zoom, they can see each other and they can talk. Yeah, we text back and forth, but it's pretty impersonal, right? You don't know somebody's tone, you've not seen their face. One of my managers has never seen another manager that's a newer manager and said, "Oh, no, I didn't know that's what he looked like." And oh, I didn't know what she looked like, or I've always heard her voice, but I didn't, So, that was one of the things is, hey, now how do we get our team connected and in a room, and instead of me having five different conversations, now we're having one conversation from the beginning. Now, yeah, we have some follow up afterwards and we do some things. But hey, we're together weekly for 20, 30 minutes and we're talking about something that's helping us improve, whether it's in upselling or managerial or, efficiencies or looking at numbers. Hey, now we're all together. And if there's a question, somebody asks it 9 out of 10 times, as you've heard, that question somebody else has. They just didn't ask it, right? So
Mm.
that got us together, shows some buy-in. We're all, working. It shows we have a common goal, I guess. And the biggest challenge I'd say with it is that buy-in. That was the biggest thing is how do you get everybody together? Find a common time. Some stores have a little bit more personnel than others, so that's not a big deal. We've got time. Others is single staff, so the managers working that shift. So getting them to say, I'm going to schedule somebody to come in, or,
Mm.
I can find a time to where I can, hey, it's shift change. I can, hop off and then they can hop on the register. Now I can devote some time to this. So scheduling was our biggest challenge, but I think it's twofold. That's the initial fight, right? Why do I have to make time for this? Why should I make time for this? But as they see the value, now they say, I need to make time for this. So now that problem of scheduling not necessarily doesn't go away, but now it's more palatable to say, I want to participate in these weekly workshops. So I'm gonna do a little bit extra effort to make sure it works, whether it's scheduling or making sure I'm at the store and I have to reschedule an appointment or something. So I think it's once you know show the value, and then our team is like, yep, I want to be here. I want to participate. I want to make our store better, and so I think you know it's just kind of once you get that initial hurdle, and then it kind of starts to pay dividends there.
So we're investing in the people that is your community.
Mhm.
and it is a challenge, frankly, because they at first, it doesn't seem worthwhile, but it's patience and persistence. You just because we tell people that I always tell people the first 3, sometimes 4 weeks. I had one that was 7 weeks, um, was tough. The one that took longer to buy in, I have the most buy-in though, funny enough. So I
Sure.
see,
Well, they're
I see that
probably very
dynamic.
skeptical but they're probably pretty strong-minded people, which is the reason why they're skeptical. And
And
once they
also
get
why
bought
they're a
in,
store manager.
yeah, and that's once they get bought in, now they're saying this is what I need
Yeah,
to be doing. So now they've
yeah.
redirected that strong-mindedness to now being, hey, this is what we need to do.
And you think it's worth it because of the investment in your people, or what makes it worthwhile to
Yeah, I
you
think
after they buy in?
yeah, I think what's worthwhile in the value in it for once our team is bought in is now they have a sounding board, right? And I think that was to me the biggest thing is like I'd mentioned, being in a silo. They're not doing this alone, right? It's just not a conversation between me and our supervisor and them. Now it's a, hey, you're probably experiencing the same thing that's
Okay.
happening over here at another store. So it's creating kind of a ability to bounce ideas off each other. Hey, what are you having problems with? Oh, I didn't realize this was your problem. So just open
Uh,
up a lot more of that level of communication. I know right now where we are is a lot of, topics that are kind of guided to the program itself and this what we need to focus on. But along with that, in those conversations organically come up, hey, what like, hey, the 1 minute reprimand, what's happened? Hey, oh yeah, I had somebody, that wasn't doing this or had this or this. And so that's to me, that's where really getting us to communicate is the value after everybody's kind of bought in, is to show that they're not alone. Yeah, there might be some unique problems, but maybe somebody has experienced that before, or they may experience in the future and say, well, geez, I didn't realize that. But yeah, I remember we talked about that. So I think creating that culture that we want of, hey, we want to be, we not only want to be, we want to, we kind of be a family, right? And so we want that ability to be able to lean on each other and bounce ideas back and forth.
so I'm going to try to summarize here and
Yeah.
see if I got this right. So there's Mason calls this alignment. I think you called it buy-in. It seems similar, but I always thought
Yeah.
about it as like goal alignment. You're saying it's actually a physical and a community family bonding. This culture thing is part of this piece as well. Because
Yeah, I think
once
it's a third. Yeah, I would think that's a third component. I definitely think it's a goal alignment. You have to, we need to set our goals and be able to accomplish them, but I think you can't, to me, we can't do that without the base of what we're trying to do culturally, right? And I think that's just getting us all together and making sure we're all on the same page because, as we're talking, we've talked about upselling and things like that. If they're not bought into, hey, I want to be able to help not only my team, but if I need to help another store in their need, I need to be able to feel like that's what we do, right? And
Mhm.
yes, we want to win. Store A wants to beat store B, but
Yeah.
if store C is really struggling, I don't want store A to be like, tough luck, store C. I want store A to be like, hey, what can we do to help store C?
And I
Uh,
see that all the time, don't you? Where like, no,
uh-huh.
it's just like, hey, have you tried this? Yeah. And that's the second part. It's the toolkit building, right? So we got the alignment, we got the leadership development, but I see a lot where people are just stacking new tools into the toolkit to carry with them to solve problems. That to me is what I see on the sharing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you also the big thing for me to realize is our limitation is our best, our strongest aspect and our weakest aspect is people, right?
Yeah. It's
That's
everything in your
we're
business. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I don't have as many layers and opportunities that I'd like to have right now. And so what I mean by that is that's where I rely on these workshops and the goal setting and the things
Mhm.
that get stuck in the minutia of working in the company instead of on the company. And so when I'm able to come up for air and have a weekly meeting and to say, hey, what's our goals? Hey, now,
Mhm.
hey, we can get together and talk about that. And then, hey, what can you work on? Here's some tools in your toolbox for managing your team. Okay.
Mm.
Instead of me having to go out and do this all by myself and say, hey, all right, guys, I need to set up a, you know, how do we work on time management? How do we work on making sure we offer appropriate discipline when it needs to be offered? Now it's all, hey, we're stacking on top of it. We're talking about not only is it about what we can do to increase sales, but it's also how do you manage your team effectively? And so to me, as a small business owner wearing multiple hats, that's a beneficial, for me, a tool in my toolkit is to say, look, now we can work with Bandyworks on a weekly basis, helping our team grow, and not only from sales, but also from a managerial and a people aspect. So that's kind of been that's one of the things that really opened my eyes and ultimately wanted to kind of partner with Bandyworks is to say, look, I don't have an HR director. I don't have a, inventory loss and prevention person, so these
Right.
managers are kind of having to do a little bit of it all. And so I need to give them the tools to be successful so that I'm successful, and we're all successful because, you know, like them, I get pulled away in many different directions.
That is a great summary of the buy-in and alignment piece. Now, transitioning over, the other thing I've seen you all do is we put together this certification program, and you all picked upselling, and I watched this evolution from something interesting to something powerful. And I saw that alignment in action because I was gone for a couple of weeks and I came back. So, why was something as simple as upselling chosen? And why do you think it's had the impact? Because I'm watching the interaction. Everything you talked about, I watched live this week, right? What, how did you transition from this really high level team building, ethereal, feel good stuff, like what are our values and cultures to let's go sell Reese's, right?
Sure.
And
It to me, it's simple but quite difficult to execute. Um, and the reason why I say that is it's a simple concept, right? We're just, hey, in our case, we're upselling Reese's candy bars at the register. So it's not complex. It's not, it's hey, do you want to add a Reese's for 99 cents? Okay. But it's it's difficult because again, it's the art of upselling and interacting as a CSR with a customer, right? It is now, even though you may say you like to talk to people, some people are afraid to ask that extra thing. Hey, do you want to
mm,
add a 99 cents Reese's? Even that's a pretty simple little quick statement. People get kind of uncomfortable and they don't like being told no. So simple in
mm,
concept, but hard to execute. And so we felt that that was a project that didn't take a lot of bells and whistles to do. We weren't going on a deep dive, super data wise. It was a good way for us to wade into this, and through the help of Bandyworks, we're able to maybe get that tracking and say now managers, we can start tracking this. So now you know how to look for certain things. Now you have a singular focus that you can now start to use the platform
ah.
for.
It
And
wasn't
you
even about the people by themselves, even though it was. You're using this as a leadership development skill. Okay. I
So
forgot about that.
now they can look, trying to develop them as leaders, or just having them even more comfortable with the platform is another thing for me, because they're going to say, well, I don't know how to use it, even though we've been told, I can't do this.
Yeah?
It's complicated. But if you say, okay, hey, look, you know, here's this report,
Mm.
go on there, look at it. We'll figure out the rest, but just go and get familiar. Go look and pull this report, and now you can start tracking this, and now you're getting more comfortable with it. And then hopefully down the road, we can add some more complexity to it and say, okay, now let's talk about, for our next products, inventory shrink or whatever. Now they got a little bit more comfortable using the platform.
So
So,
Basic calls this just immersion, right?
yeah,
So they talk about why do kids learn languages so easily? Because it's fun, right?
yeah,
And I think what you just described is, well, I'd like to take some credit for it, but I was looking at something else and something else happened. That's what's so amazing about putting people together and watching the brain happen. I used to call it something else. Mason, he's the guy that studies the PhD things and things like that. We used to throw him in the deep end, right?
yeah.
Go swim, right?
Yeah, and that's what I guess we wanted to do maybe the medium deep end and make them feel a little bit more, maybe
Yeah,
feel a little bit more they could hold on to
yeah,
the handrail or what, not
that's
handrail, but
right.
the
That's
rail on the
right. Yeah.
steps on the
Uh,
pool. But now they can say, okay, oh, I didn't realize it,
I
but
can let
now
go.
I can let go. We can do this. We started with this little upselling project
Yeah.
and it's not nothing super complicated, but a little bit hard to execute. But we're gonna coach our team. We're gonna give them a script. We're gonna role play with them, and then now
And
the
before you
manager.
know it, they've done this whole thing just
Yeah,
like Sheets and Wawa and Circle K does, right? They didn't
yeah,
even think about it.
yeah. So we're just start off to us something that isn't going to face a lot of resistance. That still does because I'm going to be told no. Tom's going to tell me no. He doesn't want to buy a candy bar. Okay,
Mhm.
but hey, I try to break it down in simpler. You get one per hour. That's eight per day for your shift. That's not bad. That's eight more items that were sold today than they were yesterday.
One of my clients in Indiana is at the 100-year anniversary, and I watched this video of a guy that was the best upseller, and he said,
Hmm.
they pay him that for each upsell. He said, I make an extra buck an hour just doing my job well, and I have fun. So why wouldn't I do it? This is like it
Yeah.
just became this natural part of his job. All right. Thank you so much. I've run over and I'm looking at your time, so we always try to be time conscious.
Well,
Um,
I was also the culprit, switching between phones and computers. So I apologize as well.
there's no apology needed here. But I do want to, now we always end. This is the tradition at a Bandyworks interview. I'm going to twist it just slightly. Normally I'm talking to store managers. You've got somebody that's thinking about, maybe they own a store and they want to have a Tang Mart, they want to have a brand, they want to build a culture, and they want to take the next step. They've been running their store successfully. That's one thing. That's a big job. Now they want to run a company and they got to let go and have people. What is the advice you give to the young entrepreneur that owns his one store? He's got a dream of being like you with Tang Mart, having the goal to build lots of community-based stores. What are you going to tell him? What's the one piece of advice?
Invest in your people, and find they're your biggest asset and your biggest liability. So if you just want to treat people as an employee, you want to pay minimum wage, you want to do that. You get in what you get out what you put in, right? Garbage in, garbage out kind of thing. So I think that's probably the biggest thing is because then if you have good people, you can now start to delegate and alleviate some of the things that you were doing if this was a single store operator and that person was at the store every single day, which is no problem. But if they wanted to get two stores, now you're talking about you've got to have somebody at store number one if you want to be at store number two. So you've got to have good people. And there's no magic bullet to it, right? There's no magic formula. It's just, you know, um, treat your people well, value them, respect them, and you're sometimes and talk about pay. Sometimes you're going to be the last one that gets paid. If you're going to take care of your people. So, I think that's the biggest thing is try to attract and retain good people as best as you can. Now we're not experts because we're always trying to fill that bucket. So
Jonathan, thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure.
yeah, absolutely. And again, apologize for being just a few minutes late and causing us to get a little bit sidetracked there.
The side tracks are the main track for me.
Awesome. Well, if there's anything else, let me know.
Thanks, Jonathan. See you on
Thanks,
Monday.
Tom.
Mhm.
Thanks, Jemima.